I think I've got croissant in my teeth. How do I look?
You look
Great.
Yeah, is that
It's
all right?
nothing obvious there.
You bought me pastries this morning. I couldn't resist. I'm gonna have a pan au chocolat.
Yeah. But how are we doing?
I'm good.
Yeah?
Yeah, I'm good. We need to turn that heater off actually.
Oh, yes, we do. That is really bad. But here we are.
Well, we're just genuine, aren't we? It's just a genuine podcast. We're in a,
Nice
we're
and
in an old
relaxed.
building. It's chilly. Everything's recording. We're up and running, and you're here in front of me again.
Boom.
We turned on adverts, didn't we, over the weekend?
Yes,
Should we
we
talk
did.
about that quickly?
Yes. So where are you flying off to next with your Jet2 holiday?
Oh, well, I've got £3.76 to spend. So we talked very candidly, haven't we, on this podcast before about the kind of the longevity of it and the plan. It's hard to, Spotify haven't put like a £40 million offer on the table yet, have they? That feels like a long way away. And I don't doubt that's ever going to happen.
You're not Joe Rogan.
But we have talked about the fact that there's going to come a point when the podcast does need to kind of generate some income.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we need to monetize it.
We're not going to hide. We're not going to hide from that because at the moment we do it we do it at cost. We do it at an expense.
Yeah.
We spend money on it, so it needs to make something. And over the weekend we moved to a new platform, didn't we?
Mm-hmm.
Recently, and we did that partly to allow us to put adverts in that are a bit out of our control. We always kind of had this idea that we're going to be in control of the people we want to sponsor us, and that's great, but actually it feels like there's an opportunity there in front of us that we might have thought we were too good for, but actually could serve as a good purpose.
Exactly. And it can be very much that British mentality of like, nah, we won't any money from it, nah, we'll stay quite coy about it and just let it run naturally. But no, it is needed really. So yesterday I got a call from Sam, or it was a text saying we've made £3.87 from the podcast.
Yeah, we are absolutely.
And I'm like, how?
And then even today, we checked today, like a day later, it's up to a tenner. We've made a tenner.
There we go. 2 days running.
we're on the roll.
So if you're getting adverts, that is why. And
hopefully you can just appreciate why you are being served those adverts.
Exactly. And let us know what you, the audience, think of them and how you're finding the experience. Is it deteriorating from what you're actually used to, or actually you actually don't care? You're actually quite...
Yeah.
Look, find it okay.
It's 30-40 seconds for a podcast that's hopefully going to bring you some good
much value
and enjoyment. Yes. So we are another idea.
A podcast for creatives and entrepreneurs
who just want to level up their business.
Indeed.
And we're here today with another magnificent guest that I'm very excited about chatting to.
Yes, indeed. We are here with Deb Kendall from Fabulous Place.
Good
How you doing, Deb?
I'm good, thank you. You?
Very good, thank you. We're not to call her Deborah.
You can
unless she does something naughty.
If I've done something wrong,
if she's been naughty, we can call her Deborah.
Go for it. It's fine.
Thanks for coming into the studio. How are you?
Pleasure. I'm good. Sun's shining, but it's Baltic outside.
I know,
it is.
Feeling slightly confused.
We're meant to have the coldest night of the year tonight,
Amazing.
but the sun is shining.
What a difference that makes. Do you have your sunglasses on the drive over from Peterborough this morning?
I didn't actually, and I regretted it because I left on the other car, so done it. But yes.
Is that a car that's got a full battery?
Yes, it has. Yeah. It has become...
Are you electric?
No,
you're not.
He just has this tendency and ability to run his battery flat.
By leaving the car lights on.
I have to come and jump start his car. The things that we do for each other, eh?
Yeah, it has happened twice now. But no, saying that again, thank you so much for coming, Deb. And we're really super excited about what you got to say and give, really, because you've created something really incredible with Fabulous Place.
Oh, thank you.
Let's not beat around the bush. Merla described you as a legend this morning.
Oh, she's
she's a legend.
I will pay her before I leave.
Superwoman for businesses. So yes, just tell us about you and your story, really, just how you started really with Fabulous Place.
So I started initially, it was just a Sunday morning idea. So I would go to little villages, or when we were just out and about walking the dogs, and I'd find a gorgeous independent business and I'd just take their card gathered them all together and suddenly had this kind of binder of cards. And then I'd find that friends would say, oh, we nip into Ashbourne, we're going here, where would you recommend? And I could just reel off, go here, then go there, and don't forget to pop in there before you go home.
So you're like the real Google.
Yeah,
the real
that's
Google
it.
Maps.
Yeah, and it wasn't a monetizing thing at first. It was a, what do I do with all of this? So I was a PA at the time, working full time, but always did something creative on the side. And my husband, who is a software developer, does all of that kind of stuff. Well, put it online. I said, oh, I'll do a blog. He went, no, I'll build you a website. And then people can go on and use it, put all those places on. And then I just worked away on that at the side. And then we went away on holiday, came back, and we'd kind of, the whole country had fallen into a recession. And at the time I was a PA for a chap in the employment kind of industry, and if you had a job you weren't moving. So I quickly realized that I was surplus because I just wasn't needed, and he had kind of got to the stage where I could see he was slightly concerned about even his position. So I was made redundant, and I remember going outside, phoning David, my husband, and letting him know. He said, how do you feel? I went, I think I'm absolutely fine. He said, so are you going to go ahead and have a go at Fab Places? I went, well, I feel like I've got to now, and I'm a big believer in fate. Not so much losing your job at the time. It was a bit kind of, this is kind of pushing fate, but
it can be a good propeller, can't it?
Absolutely, because it was a good job, monthly income. I don't know if I would have taken that leap. It was quite scary, especially when you've got a mortgage and dogs. It's expensive.
And how long had you been doing?
Dog
Fabulous
insurance just goes through the roof year on year.
Oh my goodness!
And can we just talk about that for a
their
second?
Food, and then
what the hell is going on with dog insurance?
Yeah,
I've even got a dog.
No, don't. They're really expensive. They are super expensive. So when you've got all of these costs, it was suddenly okay. Yeah, but being made redundant, it does come with this little pocket of money, and it gives you a buffer to kind of explore a little bit.
Yeah. And how long had you been doing Fabulous Place before you got made redundant?
So I'd been working away on it probably for about a year, just creating the website and getting a feel for exactly what it was I wanted it to be.
Yeah.
And it was just every moment that I had, I would because building a website in theory is really easy, but actually it takes you like 10 years to get it to the point that you want it to. It's really time consuming.
Even then I'm still not sure it's
and you're
ever
always
right, is it?
and then you realise that what you did at the beginning you don't like anymore, so it's a cycle. It was probably about a year, by which point I'd that passion, and I thought there's something here, and I would really much prefer to be doing this than being a PA, and so there was definitely that push.
It's amazing how often that happens, but like just hearing you talk about you've been working on it for a year, it was kind of like everything just started to fall into place.
It did,
and
it was meant to be, I feel.
I think if you'd have got to that stage and hadn't have been working on it, I think it probably would, even if it had just been an idea, I'm still not convinced that maybe, I think people need to just put that groundwork in, don't they?
I'd invested quite a lot. Yeah, if it was mentally or actually the time. So I knew it had something, whether it was a business thing at the time, I wasn't quite sure. But luckily, I've got a really supportive husband, and he was like, "Just go for it, see what happens." And I did that, and it was that difficult decision in that I needed to then, like you guys have just had that conversation, I needed to make it money making because. Yeah. I think it took me probably 2 years with Fab Places. Not initially. No. Well, initially, I was like, this is fine. I've got a bit of money at the side. And David's really supportive. It's all good. And then suddenly it was kind of actually... Yeah.
So just for people listening now, so just tell us what it is you actually do. Like just paint a picture of where it sits now as a brand and a business.
So where it is now is very different to how it started. I didn't have a business plan, and I like to just follow opportunities and what looks fun. So now it is primarily a events business. So I curate markets for small independents. I bring them together in a gorgeous venue, and with the community of visitors that I've built over the years organically. There's a date in the diary where people can come shop with small independent businesses, have amazing food, and just kind of have that moment away. And I think over the years, they've definitely become that date where people are planning to meet up with friends. And it's not just come and buy something and leave. There's more to it. And it's more the community that I've built over the years of makers and the guys that support me and kind of book a ticket each time I announce an event. It's a get together and recognise people, and they kind of supported from the very beginning, from my first event. So it is primarily the markets right now, and then anything else creative that I like the look of and I think will be fun, then I'll dive into that as well.
I think it's really important just to be like really clear on how it looks as well, visually and aesthetically. It's not just like I suppose it's like there's a spectrum, isn't there, of what people might think. It's not like you're just going into like an old school hall that's just a bit run down, and people have got like these visions of like old scout fairs where it's like just a little table that's popped up and there's some Tupperware on the side with some like, you know, put your money in the jar. It's not like that. You walk in and straight away it's like visually like inspiring and creative, and it
nail on the head.
You've kind of just taken that experience that you would expect kind of from like a really like lovely shop on the high street.
That's
and
it.
taking it into a space where you kind of bring those people together.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's the focus for me behind it, and I'm always motivated by each time it has to feel not different, but where people walk in and the kind of, I don't know which way to go.
A certain level of expectation.
Yeah, there is. No, it comes with a bit of pressure, but it's good because it's creative, and I think that's the root of it. I can be creative with it, so it's fun and different every time.
No, it's amazing. And even doing my research, I was very much like, I didn't know what to expect.
Yeah.
So I was, when Mela told us, like the premise of you and what you do and everything else, I was like, I'm not sure. But
did you doubt Mela?
She'll pop in a minute.
Mela, Igor doubted you.
But then I look at it and I see your website, I see your Instagram and the visual aspect of it, and I'm like, oh, I get it. I really get it. The aesthetic is on point, like beautiful. Like you've built something very, very strong visually. And how's that journey been in terms of like building the brand visually, really, and perhaps working with other creatives?
Yeah, it's non-stop, really. And I think when you're creative, you're always looking back at what you've done and looking at how you can improve it. And I'm surrounded by so many talented, amazing people that you can't help but be inspired to keep improving and progressing. But over the years, I think because I'm self-taught, my husband showed me the basics with Photoshop. We did initially for the website go to a designer, and he sent me back this, it looked like a shopping website with ladies holding shopping bags. I was like, no, that is definitely not what it is.
You missed the brief.
Yeah, I'm like, this isn't going to work, but thanks. So I designed it myself, and over the years, so all of the visuals that you see are mine, and I think that's really important to me.
The signs, the bags,
everything.
Absolutely.
Yeah, everything. And there needs, for me, because it's such a big thing now, people want to buy into it, and they want a little piece of it. So that's where the bags came from. Because I would go to an event and you would see the bag, and you're like, well, of course I'm going to have one of those because I'm going to keep that forever, and it's a lovely little reminder. But the bags are amazing, and I love to see them. I'll often be in Sainsbury's and I'll see them and I'm like,
yes,
that's mine. Thank you very much. But it's all about the little touches, and I'll go to places just on a day out because I know it will be inspiring. So I'll go to London quite regularly just to get that inspiration, and that's where the idea of the markets came from. So I would travel a long way. Ironically, I would go to the centre of London to go to the Country Living Fair, and you'd walk in and it was amazing, but it's in the middle of London, and why isn't there anything like that in Derbyshire? So that was the idea, and I wanted to bring the word market because it is cool. And you would go to London, it would be a market, and it would just be in a brick building, in a mill, and it would be, the coffee would be amazing, and the shopping would be, really, really good, and you'd kind of stop yourself from spending. So that's what I wanted to bring up to Derbyshire, because there just wasn't anything up here. Back in 2009, there was the fairs and things like that, but nothing that you would walk into and think, well, this is going to be expensive. Yeah,
you touch on a perfect point, really, because I had it as one of the questions, especially where I live, Peterborough. There's not many very much, at least I can visually see a space.
It's not a very cool place, is it? let's just be really honest. It can't be an inspiring city to live in.
It is.
I've not been, so this is on you.
No, whenever I talk to people, they're very much like, oh yeah, Peterborough, you've got a really good service station, haven't you? Yeah.
Passports.
You've got one on us. Yeah.
But no, I think of Peterborough, and I think of, it would be amazing to create something like that. A hub for creatives, a hub for businesses that really want to champion each other and really see each other propel and grow together.
Yeah, absolutely.
And very much put the city on the map from that aspect, really. And you clearly done that. So how have you done that? Because it's amazing. It's amazing. It really is.
I guess a lot of it is timing, because there wasn't anything like it at the time when I started, and I was very much I've never paid for an advert because I've wanted the growth to be organic. So the idea of the markets was that you would find out about them either by picking up a flyer from a coffee shop or an eatery, or your friend would tell you about them. And I knew that I'd mastered that because I would put a questionnaire and you could win tickets to the next market, so that I could data capture where people had travelled from and how they'd heard about the market. And it would be friend, flyer, friend. So for me, it was really important to put that groundwork in, because then I knew that the people were walking through the door totally got what it was that I was creating each time. But also when I moved the markets to the Roundhouse, they needed to be much bigger. It's such a huge building that I would actually point on a map areas where I knew that the right customer would be, and I would just go door to door. So I'd put the legwork in, but it meant that my business was in front of them. And so I knew that once the market had opened, I'd done everything I possibly could to make sure that it was a success for everyone.
Yeah, that sounds amazing. What sort of businesses then should we expect to see at one of your markets, and what did they started with when you actually started in 2008, 2009, and what is it today?
I think trends definitely change, and also the amount of people that have decided to take that leap and become their own business and self-employed. I think over the years that's definitely grown, and the pool of creatives is so huge now, so the choice that you can get, and then how professional they are. I think when I did start, you would see there would be a lot of tabletop stuff, but the product would be amazing, but visually the display, people hadn't quite mastered that. And then you would see someone who maybe had a shop, so they got window visuals, they got how to present, you could see they'd got everything like key selling and all the visual points spot on. But now, especially when we moved into the Roundhouse, because it was so big, you needed to stand out, that they'd start to come and they'd go, okay, I need to obviously up my game, because they'd look around and people had built structures. We'd had fireplaces, sheds being brought in, defenders being brought in, and they were selling from that. So creatively, it's probably, if you want to go for visual inspiration,
Defender costs a little bit more than a trestle table, doesn't it?
It does, but if you've got someone that you can borrow, I definitely for the events I always like to have a Defender, but I would love to buy one, but I would just hemorrhage money on it, and I know that it looks great, so I hire one for the markets.
It's just great to hear like people like being inspired by other people,
absolutely,
other people selling at those fairs, and just realising they have to up their game, and they have to kind of take it to that next level. And it's a key part of any marketing, isn't it? Like even though you're buying ultimately what is a space at a market, you're going to come there, you've still got a job to do.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that for me is exactly the same as what you've just described when you said about putting on these markets and actually having to physically go out and flyer and put things out in front of people's faces.
Yeah.
There are so many people that may have had your idea that would probably just go, right, I've done it now. I've got a sign up on that corner of the road.
Yeah.
I've put a few flyers in the little cafe. I've got an Instagram account. We're good to go.
Yeah.
But you really have to like put in those hours and
absolutely.
And be
it's
really
hard
kind
work.
of strategic with what you're going to do.
Yeah, totally. From the outset, and this is exactly how it should be. I think you should be a swan. Everything looks as though it's effortless, but underneath you're going for it constantly, and I think that's the success for me, because if I didn't do that, and every time I book a new date for a market, I start from scratch, and I go on the assumption that nobody is going to come. Nobody follows me, they don't know about anything. Yeah, it is fear. It is. There is nothing quite like the pressure of opening an event and the prospect of nobody coming or just a trickle of people.
One of my big personal gripes with like business quotes is that one where the people, it's like an age-old cliched one, like build it and they will come. It's like this idea that you've just got to build it and everyone's going to turn up. You're like, no, like you've got to put the work in. Like, once you've built it, that's really when the next stage of the hard work starts.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, it is constant. It is relentless. And I think over the years, because I've been in events, gosh, I think my first little one, which I realised there is a market for this, was 2008. And there's been a lot of event people come and go, because from the outset, it's amazing. You walk through the event and everyone's happy and you think, okay, I can do this. And it's really, really hard work. And the pressure is not for everybody, and it's definitely not for the faint-hearted. I think there are moments where I've been setting up, something's gone wrong, an alarm's gone off, someone's plugged something in, it's tripped the electric, and then I think, and then people might not come, and then I just go, because my husband's always there. It is literally, it's a village that when it takes to put them all together, and I'll just go and look at him, and he'll go, "What's the matter?" I've got bad vibes about this one. There's too much going on.
Before I used to be a photographer, I used to buy and sell vintage clothing, and we used to travel and do fairs up and down the country.
Yep.
And like seeing what you've done now, I have a huge amount of respect for it, because I used to go to those fairs, and I used to feel the pressure of like, we're committing here to giving somebody money for a marketplace, to then hoping that people are going to turn up and then they're going to want to spend money with us. You know, there's a lot of effort goes into it. So not only do you as the host have the pressure of just making sure the event operates, like it's the pressure of people coming through the door and spending money with your with your suppliers, because
that's it.
It only works for you as a business if your suppliers make money.
That's
and
it.
I think there's so many businesses, so many times we've touched on this before about how, I think I mentioned recently about a marketing agency putting something out about like kind of marketing agencies only work if the clients are making money from your marketing efforts.
That's
like,
it.
Your business only works if the stalls are making money
that's it.
from their...
I think that's always the pressure of people are paying you money, you know, they're investing their hard-earned cash into what you do. And I think that is my product, market, and how it looks and how it operates through the day. It's the same as somebody with an actual physical product. If someone buys it, they've got to be really impressed with it, otherwise they're never going to come back to you and buy again. And that's the idea of the markets. That I have to get everything just right, and it doesn't always go just right, but it's just on the basis that actually so much has gone wrong on this market, but nobody really knows about it. I'll go home, I'll have a glass of something, it'll be fine, and I'll learn from it. So absolutely.
How do you handle the dynamics of, say for example, like a stall holder? A stall holder is also representative of your brand. How often do you have to have that hard conversation or realise that somebody might not align with? Do you pre-vet them, or is it?
What is the criteria?
What's the criteria? And then what happens with, I suppose where I'm going is, if somebody slips through the net and they're like, oh, hold on a second, is that a hard conversation you have to have with that stall holder? Like, do you kind of go, you need to up your game here, because this isn't good enough? Yeah,
absolutely. And I think that the process of becoming a stall holder at the market starts when I kind of advertise the event, and then people are welcome to fill in the register of interest, and in there they have to give me not crazy amounts of information, but key points of information about what they do, where they're from, where their products are from, whether they make them, and a link to their Instagram. And I check everybody, and it's based on my knowledge of the customer coming through, whether they would buy it or not. And I think the years of experience, I know that as much as somebody is so lovely and their product that is really popular, but it wouldn't work at the market. So I think it's just the years of experience, knowing I've said yes to that type of product and it's not sold, and then they're disappointed, and that's the last thing that I would want. So it does happen occasionally, because sometimes people come and they're not professional, or the way that they present isn't quite right. So it's always a process of I'm happy to work with everybody. So I, leading up to an event, I always hold a stallholder evening, and it's an opportunity for the stallholder to come and have a coffee, and I always do a little bag of sweets, come and have a look around the venue. Don't come blind. You don't have to come blind, and you can come and look approximately where your space will be, and then I'll set up a example stand, and I'll just talk about the real kind of nitty gritty of display, and
get a gauge for the expectations.
And the psychology of the shopper, and previous events, what's worked, what hasn't. And I always work with a really good sample of customers who I ask them questions, so I know exactly what works, what they like, what they don't like, and I'll always pass this on to the market stallholders as well. So as much as the stallholder evening is really lovely and it's an opportunity for us all to get together, it serves a purpose, and it means that once they come on the morning, they know exactly what they need to do. So it goes through all of the process. So it works really well. And after the first one that I did for my first event at the Roundhouse, I carried them on because they've got so much value and people totally get it then. So there's nobody coming in going, I don't know where I am, and then they're just throwing things onto a tabletop. It's kind of, it's held in enough time to give them that opportunity to get creative with their stand and see what the actual level is that they need to be at. And it's good for them because it works. People love an amazing looking stand. We're all quite fickle in that, it's that 3-second rule where you've captured someone or not. So they'll either walk past your stand or you've engaged them and they'll come in. And there's certain little things that you can do that aren't expensive, but you can just implement them and you've captured someone's attention.
That gets me onto one point, because I remember I used to going to work at those fairs, and myself and my business partner at the time, Lee, we both worked in retail, so we were both very much focused on customer service, eye contact, smiling, engaging. And there were often, it used to drive me mad, but then I was like, no, it's fine, you carry on doing what you're doing, because we're just going to clear up here. And it was that people would just sit behind their desk on their phone, and this is in like 2008, 2009, and they'd just sit there on the phone and they'd just expect people to come up and give them money. And me and Lee would both be on our feet, walking around the stuff, make sure everything was tidy, saying hello to everybody. And
you would be welcome.
You would be welcome on our stall, and you would see it in our take-home pay for those days. And then you'd hear the other people moaning because they haven't made anything.
And they'll blame the organizer.
Yeah, of course they will.
Yeah, it's a big thing.
And it's amazing how just that simple thing, just eye contact, communication, a smile.
You don't need to be on someone and constantly coaching them. They don't need a personal shopper, but they do need to know that actually you care.
Yeah.
And you've noticed that they're there.
To come and talk to you.
Yeah, absolutely.
I still find that when I go around shops now. I don't expect people to be on me. But like when people have got their back to you, or they're like just shut off and they're ignoring you. Like, I've kind of got a question, but I'm not. I don't feel like I'll walk out. Open. Walk out.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it's such basics, and we talked about it with Max, who came on the podcast from Timber Foundry, and just that art of just simple sales and just communication. Yeah,
absolutely. I think, and over the years, I've done quite a lot of workshops, lifestyle and business, and I always, every few years, I'll do the to market workshop, and it takes you through the nitty gritty of all of that through to display. And because people, if you start your own business, you have to be everything, and it's not easy. And I don't think anybody really masters that. When I was a PA, you would do something and it would go on to another department, and then suddenly it's kind of, well, I'm all departments and I don't really have the time to do that. So you do kind of prioritize, and generally it's making something or it's working on the market, so all of the extra little bits do get kind of put behind. And so the idea of the to market workshop was to kind of get a really good grounding on all of those things and actually break it down, and it's not difficult, but actually it can make a big difference as well.
Where have you struggled in business?
Where have I struggled
over the last sort of 10-12 years? What have been the pain points for you as a Studio Ninja, Igor?
Here we go.
Yeah, I'm off again. But I just wanted to talk about one more thing, because I think, and I'm not here to criticise one of our sponsors, but I think they're missing a trick.
Ooh, shots fired. Tell us what you think.
It claims to be designed by photographers for photographers, which it is. It is designed by photographers for photographers. So I'm not arguing that. But it's not just for photographers.
That's it. So much
I just think it's for anybody that's in a service-based industry. This piece of software is invaluable. I've had friends that are MUAs, hairstylists, florists, stylists. You name it. I've had them all reach out, and I've given them sort of guidance and setting them up that have gone on to use Studio Ninja and like, this is invaluable for our business. Yeah. So if Studio Ninja are listening and watching this back, might want to think about who you're targeting it to, because actually I think they're missing a trick. I think there's a whole market out there that you don't just need to be a photographer or a videographer in the wedding industry. If you are a service-based industry and you've got clients or couples, whoever they may be, and you need to book people in, you need to send them automated emails, invoices, the system and the software is there for anybody to use in whichever business they're operating in.
Yeah, get Studio Ninja.
There you go. So what's the discount code, Igor? You should know it by now, because I've told you a few times.
Let me see.
I wonder what it could be.
I'm guessing. I'm joking. It's another idea. It's that simple. So if you go to Studio Ninja, type in that at the checkout, and you'll get 50% off for the whole year, and you'll get the first month free.
You get the first month free, and then another idea gets 50% off their first annual subscription.
There we go.
There you go. Sorted.
Go get it.
Where have I struggled?
Over the last sort of 10, 12 years, what have been the pain points for you as a
angry stall holders when the event hasn't even yet opened and they're not happy with where they are and they're literally here, and then at the end of the day they're fine. But it's the pressure. I think I do find the pressure quite hard. I have trained myself to be better at it, but it's one of those things where you do feel the responsibility for everybody. I remember the first event that I held at the Roundhouse, and I just put my head round the corner into the big round and just looked at all of the people before we'd opened, and I had that moment of, and I had like a mini panic attack, and it was fine. But I think that also serves me well, because I don't ever take anything for granted. So the pressure's hard. Oh gosh. I think it's just seeing small businesses come and go. I think that's hard as well. There's been a lot that have sailed through with me, but especially this year, we've lost 3 already that are amazing, but it is retail's hard. So it's kind of just sailing through and getting to know people, and then suddenly like, oh, we're having to close. And so that is hard. But yeah, I'd say the pressure. Everything else, because I was a PA, that was a really good grounding for organising. Yeah, I love it. Yeah. Spreadsheets.
So have you kind of come to learn is that kind of just, you accept that now and that's part of the process, that pressure? I think if you probably didn't feel that, you'd probably be a bit like, there'd be alarm bells going off.
Yeah, something would go wrong and go, that's why, because you just took it for granted.
Took your eyes off the...
Yeah, that's it. And I just, everything I start from scratch with, on the basis that nobody... do they want it, and how do you make them? I think that's the thing with markets, is any kind of event, you're asking somebody to come and spend their time with you, and there's so much value on that. And I think that's where you can't assume that I'll just put a market on and it'll be fine, people will come. It's that, even down to the flyer, when you see it and everything's a visual that entices someone in, it's that encouraging somebody to come away, whether they're meeting the girls at the market and they're leaving, they're arranging childcare. There's just so many levels of it that I've always liked to give thought to, because as soon as someone comes to the market, they've chosen to travel, because it's not somewhere you would pass, it's a destination. And that's always kind of motivated me, is that you have to encourage everybody each time.
I think this is about not taking things for granted, isn't it? And just being thorough. It doesn't matter what industry you're in. Like, again, let's bring it back to me and you as photographers. Like, I would never go to a wedding and just go, oh, I know what I'm doing here. Like, there's always that like internal pressure and that
definitely
that level of, oh, I've got to deliver here.
Absolutely.
I've started scripting my talk. We're speaking at Thrive, aren't we, in a couple of weeks? I started scripting my talk last night, and even that, you kind of going, no, come on, I've got to turn up. It's an hour-long talk. I've got to turn up. I've got to deliver. I want to make it good.
Yeah, that's it.
There's always that level of, I'm going to commit. If you're going to do something, you just give it the best shot.
Yeah,
and you work
absolutely.
hard at it.
Yeah. Well, my motivation is, every now and again I'll get caught in rush hour traffic. This is why you work so hard, because I don't want to go back. An old boss of mine, he's always said, whenever, if you want to come back, brilliant. So I know that I kind
You've
of
got the safety net.
Yeah, but to a point where I don't want to go back to working in an office, doing the school run. I'm doing the school run at the moment. Normally it's my husband's job, because we both work from home, and that's his kind of walks the dogs, drops Lily at school, and then comes back, and then he's ready to kind of get to work. Whereas I'm doing that at the moment because I've got the Gather creative space for March, so I'm doing the school drop off, and then I'm driving over to Peak Village, and I'm kind of, wow, so this is it. Now it's a month and I'm fine with that, but then I'm going to be back at working from home. So it's a great motivation to suddenly get caught in rush hour traffic and remember all those years when you were desperate to get home, but you were stuck in, you knew you had at least another half hour of red lights.
That's a really positive thing to take away, isn't it? Just having that little motivator in the back of your mind that just reminds you and goes, I know I've got something to be really grateful for here.
Yeah, totally.
But I'm not going to let anyone take it away from me.
No, that's it. That's what keeps me going. And that kind of first few years of Fab Places, and it would be 8:45, and I'd be,
do you have that?
I'm not driving to work.
Do you have that? Do you have something in the back of your mind that's like, I'm not going back to that? I suppose mine would be Boots, and like being in that office and just like like, I enjoyed the people that I worked with a little bit, but it was just boring. I was bored.
Mine's definitely MasterCard, because
Got to be careful what you say, because they actually paid us some money yesterday. They are one of the paid sponsors, so just be careful.
I used to work for MasterCard, and yeah, just the whole idea of being sat at a desk working for someone, that's a big thing for me. I just I don't like being told what to do.
I hear you.
No, you definitely don't, do you, Igor?
No, I don't.
No.
You know that, so
I know that. Yeah,
my wife knows
we'll
that.
We'll get onto that in a minute.
I don't like to be told what to do, but I think whilst that can be a weakness, that can be very much of a strength of, okay, I don't like to be told what to do, but I have to push things.
Yeah.
I have to drive things myself. So that really, really drives me. That really pushes me to kind of like, I don't want to go back to that place.
Yes, absolutely.
And we're all like we're all here because we're creatives.
Exactly.
You know, like sitting in an office with no creativity in our lives is absolutely soul destroying.
Yeah. I work with
you
so
do
many
long.
amazing small businesses based on that they've had that job. The one illustrator, she worked for Hallmark, and right, we need this card and this card, so she'd be like, yay, but you've got this restriction that you've got to work within. She's like, no. So
but the restriction's so much that it's like, you've already done the design for me.
Exactly. You just want me to make it look pretty.
Yeah,
that's it. So that's the basis of a lot of, especially the illustrators and the actual people the artisans where they make with their hands. And if you're that kind of person and you're sat in an office, it's really frustrating.
Yeah. And I think you touched the nail on the head, really. If you're that sort of person that very much like, because you get people that are very much happy to work in an office 9 to 5.
They live for the weekend.
Do what they do and everything else. But for us, collectively, we very much agree that what drives us is that aspect of, no, I want to start my own thing and do it well.
Yeah.
And I think then once you've done that and you've realised the potential of it, and like you've talked about going through like 2008 and building it, and once you've realised that you can monetize it and you can grow something
it's
and
the
you can
best
build
feeling.
Like the level of satisfaction that you can take from that is just, I mean, you could offer me 3 or 4 times that in a salary in a job, and I'd say no thanks, I'm all right.
Absolutely,
because it's just not worth it. I mean, maybe I would take that.
Depends what kind of office. Did you have a good view?
I wouldn't, because I know deep down I would be miserable. I'd be miserable.
Yeah, I would really miss the markets. Lily, my little girl, who's kind of gone through that whole process. So mum and dad have both run their own businesses. So we have to have that little reality check with her every now and again, because she doesn't have to go to after school club or breakfast club. We're there for her. And that was part of, once we decided to start a family, was who's going to be at home, who's going to do the school drop off, who's going to go pick Lily up. We need to be available, because otherwise, why are we doing it? Yeah. So we're available for her. We take off we tag team the half terms. I always take August off. Well, I say I take August off, but once she's in bed, I'm kind of working away because things get really busy in September. But that's the kind of the reward, really, is that Lily's kind of had this really creative environment. So between David and I, she keeps coming up with different ideas. Like, keep working on that. So we're moulding this little entrepreneur. Because I think
she's a great helper at the markets.
And we're getting there. I think it's just that we've got a.
She's not on van driving duty just yet. No.
Not yet, although she's very much. She does come and she'll often point things out, and I can see I've got a little critic there already, which is amazing. So she is 11, so she'll be going to senior school soon. So she's at that level where she's quite opinionated, which I totally love, and she's a mini me, so I can't complain. I've kind of curated this, but yeah. So I'm seeing her, whether she wants to get involved with either coding or actually the events or doing her own thing. We just want to kind of really nurture her. The possibilities for her are endless, really. When I was at school, I wanted to be a freelance photographer, so I love photography. So it enables me to everything visual that you see on Fabulous Places. I've done it, which is really good for me, because I can in one morning decide I want to create something, then I'll do the photography, put all the branding over the top, and then it's done. But it means that I'm in such control of what I do and the feel for what I want to put out there as well. But I think my dad sat me down and said, so if you become a freelance photographer, you do know you have to earn your own money. It's like, what do you mean? What is this? So I kind of went into business studies and then fell into being a PA. But again, I always had that kind of this is not for me. I just don't see this long term.
You don't really get to do that photography role in a PA job, do
you? No,
you?
definitely not. You get to do lots of things, but yeah, the creative, I'll take photos. Yeah, they pay a lot of money for, I think that was the thing. And also why my husband decided to start his own business, primarily it was building websites, and you see how much they get paid or they pay other companies. It's like, I did that all on my own. So, off I go.
Is that that level of control that you have, this isn't me, I'm just thinking, is that something you struggle to let go of?
Totally. Yeah, I've tried working.
Does it limit your business, or do you, I mean, obviously it's, I don't know where I'm going with this. I'm just trying to think of, like, is that an area that, have you tried to outsource? Have you tried to let go of it? Has it worked? Has it not worked?
It doesn't work. No, because Fabulous Places is Deb, and I think and I've learned that, and I've come to appreciate and kind of come to an understanding that actually the people that come to the markets, the people that book onto workshops that I do, because it's me doing it. And I did try to take Fabulous Places when it was a where to go places to Nottingham, and quickly realised that Nottingham is quite different to Derbyshire. And the person that I gave it to run with wasn't me. So that's when I had that conversation. I've always my husband's ears. I chew every night. But he's a really good sounding board, and he said you're just going to have to do something where you're in control. And the idea of I was approached about franchising the markets. I was like, absolutely not, because I think I'll just that will cause more damage than good. And I'm actually good with what I do, and I think that's the thing. With being creatives, we're so flexible, and I think that's why so many of us thrive through lockdown. I took the markets online because you can, and we're small, and you don't need to implement huge things. You can be so flexible, and I think that's the benefit that we have over the larger businesses, is that we can just react so quickly to things and change what we do. I'm not the same business as when I started out, and I knew that it would be an organic process, and I didn't have a business plan, and I'm really grateful for not having that. I kind of thank myself for not being too structured, because over the years I've done some amazing things that, had I not been open to looking at them, I probably would have missed out on so much. And it's made the business become what it is today, because I've been flexible and I've responded to something that's happening and seen that there's a gap or there's a niche that's not being covered. So it's just about being responsive, and as small businesses we're so good at that.
It's really admiring to hear that, because I think there's probably a lot of people that would listen, or that may put themselves in that position. They go, no, I've got to grow this thing, I've got to scale it, I've got to make it, I've got to make my millions here, and actually it's not always the case. It's just you have a wonderful business that supports and provides you and your family, for you and your family, but also supports and provides for other families and other people and their businesses.
I think sometimes the value that a business can bring supersedes that opportunity of looking and thinking, okay, you can scale up. And I've worked with a lot of small businesses that have tried wholesale. They've gone to the trade fairs, and it's not all that. Suddenly their product has been devalued, and they've lost their motivation for it. So I've always stood quite firm in that, as long as I'm happy with what I'm earning, it supports the lifestyle that I like, and I enjoy doing what I'm doing, then I'm here. Yeah, absolutely.
That sounds amazing. You touch upon it previously and a little bit now in terms of knowing those Nottinghamshire or Nottingham customers and in comparison to Derbyshire. So what would you say is your customer today that you see walking in and out through the markets, and how many roughly?
Gosh, so over the years, the markets have changed from small venues where the capacity was at maximum. Then I moved to the Roundhouse. So when the Roundhouse in Derby opened, I went to have a look around, and I was like, no, it's just, that's ridiculously big. Went home.
People listening, just to give context, is the old sort of
train turning station,
wasn't it? So it would have a train turntable in the middle.
Yeah,
wow,
it was
huge.
So it's called,
huge.
it's massive, big space.
Yeah, crazy space.
Wonderful character, very similar to in here.
It's very much this feel. You would walk in and it would smell of oil in the wood still. It was, and they'd spent so much money in bringing it back to life, but it was primarily a college, and it had an event side to it. So I went for a look around. It was stunning, very exciting, but said no initially. So I knew once I went home and my husband kind of just write down, we lists what the pros and the cons, and then suddenly you realise the pros are really long and you need to stop stressing and just crack on with it. But so the first market, I know it's like damn.
Let's just hold on 1 second, because I think anybody listening will go, yeah, that's basically me. Yeah. I do that all the time.
Yeah.
Let's just talk through that process a little bit. So what changed from going like writing that? What was the benefit of that list? And
just being able to grow, because I did need to grow at that point. I needed to make more money, because the first couple of years of Fab Places were great and it was serving a purpose, but it wasn't making me a salary that would justify any longer, really, me being at home and not going to work. So I needed to grow, and I also had a vision for the markets that they would have all of these different elements, so we would bring different areas, and when you're working with smaller venues you can't do that. You just fill it with stall holders and it is what it is. So the process of taking it to the Roundhouse took it from what was a small market feel with maybe 30 to 40 stall holders to, I would say at its height, 120 stall holders, and we'd have over 9,000 through the door over a Christmas market weekend.
Incredible.
I would need 15 stewards, 6 St John's ambulance, a personal team. I know, it was nuts, but the stress, it was so stressful. Yeah. Wow. We would have so many visitors come through, and the queue would start at just after 9 o'clock. We would open at 10, and I remember that the longest it went all the way around the Roundhouse. It was exciting. It was wonderful. But when lockdown hit, they closed as a venue, so they're back to just being a college. So it did give me that opportunity to, again, go to that list. What do you enjoy? What parts of running the big event did you not enjoy as much? And it was the logistics of it and the stress that comes with that. You've got maybe 2,000 people in a venue at one time, and people can be quite silly and they trip over, and then suddenly it's kind of, you've got walkie-talkies and St John's ambulance people running around, and it was amazing, and it was for 10 years, and it was an amazing time, and I'm so grateful for it. But when lockdown hit, it did give me that moment of that 1 hour walk. Remember that you were allowed, and we would go around Fritchley, and my husband and I and Lily would just chat about everything, and we had that 1 hour, and I would just fire things at him because I thought, I've got no business here. Physically, I don't see, as soon as we went into lockdown, I didn't see a market happening that year, so I needed to think, what am I going to do? Do I just not work this year? I'd built a pot of money, and I've got this thing where I always like something to fall back on should the event not be able to happen, and that was exactly that. So I created the online markets, but also I planned for when I came back with in-person markets, what did I want to do? So I still wanted a decent size market, but I wanted to take it back to that really lovely, comforting countryside feel. Yeah. But still ticking all the boxes, but just on a smaller scale than the Roundhouse. I think I probably will go back to bigger events at one point, but maybe for now I'm just kind of nurturing the smaller, I mean, it's still 50 stall holders. We still get thousands of people come through. So it's just about, I'm just being self-indulgent at the moment and doing what I really love and working on the areas that I really enjoy, and I get that creative satisfaction from.
We've got a party going on upstairs, haven't we?
We do.
They've dropped the tunes in the gym.
Are we missing out?
Class.
Okay.
And also that incense. I've just noticed that incense. It's just like wafting over the shop.
I like it.
It's almost like you're bringing me to a close. I'm like, the music's coming in, smoke.
Just going back to the part where you talked about going to the Roundhouse and going, no, it's too big. It's not right. And then obviously kind of coming back and reassessing that. Yeah. I think what's really incredible is that you kind of you tested the water so that you knew you had a product and a platform in which to kind of scale. Yeah. And I just love that you obviously knew that you got to scale it somehow, because you talked openly about had to make more money, right? Yeah. But I think the big thing from that I took from you just talking about it is just that you probably recognised you had to take a risk.
Oh gosh, yeah. Scary as hell. It was just, I remember the lead up to that market, I think the pressure that I'd put myself in, there were just so many moments where I'm like, Deb, you opted into this. I can't even blame anybody. It's like the stress that you're feeling right now is totally your fault. But then once I'd held that first market, and the feeling afterwards, stallholders were leaving and it was, bye Deb, that was amazing. It's like, that's it.
Yeah.
That's exactly it.
I think it's really reassuring to hear that, you know, an event like that or a business of any scale doesn't happen without a few ingredients, and that is like the hard work that you've put in first and foremost, the graft, the creative vision and the aesthetic that you've put together, and then the risk. Like,
such big risk.
You didn't know it was going to work out.
No,
you don't.
No
one.
And it
no
quite
one
easily
really does.
it could have been
no
a flop.
one really does.
Yeah,
You've
it
given
could
it
have
a
been.
go.
Yeah, because I started Fab Places during a financial recession, and I was asking people to come and spend money on things they don't need. It's like, this is not a good idea. But I knew that it would work because I based my customer is very much like me, and if I see something, I might not need it, but I want it, and if I don't buy it, I'll probably obsess about it and go online and order it anyway. So I always base it on things that I would buy, the type of environment I would like to be in, and the things I'd like to do when I'm there. And that's kind of my starting point. And then I work very closely with a group of regular visitors, and I always ask the stall holders for feedback, constructive mostly, but I think you always have to be open to criticism and feedback, because that's actually helped the markets grow and change things as the years have gone on. So I always ask people's opinion, because I think you can so much can be done really well with the business, but then suddenly you can be quite tunnel vision, and it's very much, but I love this and this will work and this will be amazing, but you haven't really asked anyone else if they would be interested.
I find it amazing
either.
that you do that. You have sort of like a panel, almost like a panel of visitors really, that all very much like say that this was good,
and if I've got an idea, should I do this? Don't worry, no, don't do that.
Have you ever had feedback that has been like totally brutal?
I think at the Roundhouse they were amazing years, very, very busy, but it was too busy for a lot of people, and that was generally the feel that you would get.
Though, isn't it? You know, like you're putting on an event, you want it to be busy, like,
and then it's too busy. And we're like clicking and we're monitoring numbers, and we're totally fine capacity wise, but it's too busy for some people to feel relaxed enough to shop. So I have had the victim of your own success line. I'm like, don't really feel a victim, but I will definitely take that on board, and we work on creating more shopping. So we opened up more areas, so once you
make it bigger.
We'll make it bigger. It's fine, more space. So it's just about I do like to listen, and as much as that can be quite tricky and quite hard, you do have to take the bruises with all the lovely fluffy fun times as well, but I think that has really helped with the longevity of the business as well. It's just always adapting and listening to people, and actually realizing that I don't know everything, I'm not always right, but I do like to self-indulge. I think if you can't do that in your own business, then what are you doing?
Exactly.
If you could sorry, I think you were going to ask something there, but if I'm just going to ask this question, if you could talk to somebody that's sat in that office now, maybe just listening on the sly, you shouldn't be listening to our podcast yet. You've got work to do, people. What would your words, like, say somebody's got like just this little idea in the back of their mind, or they've maybe started something, what would your kind of advice be to them?
I would just explore it, talk to someone who you respect the opinion of, really look at what it is that you want to do and make, and will it make you money? And I think that's where a lot of people go wrong, is that they don't really look at how much it costs to create that product. How are they going to sell it? Does it mean that they have to go to market? Are they the kind of person that will enjoy going to markets? Because if that's the only way you can sell your product, I know a lot of people that hate standing there and selling direct. It's really challenging, and they kind of feel being around lots of people is not their comfort zone. So you really have to look into the nitty-gritty of what it is that you want to do, and actually will it earn you a living? Because I think a lot of people do dive in and then they realise that they're kind of not working. They're working a lot for very, very little, and you can only do that for a certain amount of time. But if you've got something that you know will work and it can make you money, then just give it a go. Even if you can do it with your job and it allows you to do it, just have a little dabble on the side.
So if I'm a creative and I want to be part of your markets, what do I need to do?
Go to the website, click on the markets, there's a register of interest, fill that in, and I will sit and take a look at you and get straight back to you with all the information. But I do also, this is the most challenging, and I don't like this side of it, is having to say no. But I will always let people know, because I think it's so important. I think there's a lot of people that don't get back to people, but I'll always say it's not quite right. And there's been a few people that have come back saying, what do I need to do? And I'm more than happy to work with people, because if I see potential, then it will work at the markets, and I know the visitors will love it too. So it takes me a long time, because there's only me, and I think for the market, when I announce a market, I'll suddenly get 50 to 60 pings come through, and it's registered of interest, and obviously that takes quite a lot of time. And there's people that I know their products, so I don't really need to check, I just know if they're right. And then the new people, I do have to go and look, so I'll go on their Instagram first. So that's why I say Instagram is so important.
It's definitely a great portfolio.
It is a portfolio
showcase, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely, especially for someone like me that just really needs to capture what you're about very, very quickly. So whenever I talk to small businesses, as much as you might not see the recognition in the numbers on Instagram, don't forget that that's not what people are always using it for. It's so valuable for me, and I don't know where I'd be with Fab Places without it.
You just want to see that people are active on it as well, don't you, a little bit?
That's it.
Because I suppose a byproduct of bringing a stall holder on that is active is that they're going to increase your marketing efforts
it's
a little bit.
It's a big tick for me.
And it's not like that's the main criteria, but I imagine if I was in your position, I'd be like, I want to see that people are going to make a bit of an effort for me, marketing wise, because it helps everybody.
It does help.
You're a collective, aren't you, really?
Yeah.
No one's in it just for themselves. It's this kind of, again, this small island, like my island mentality, isn't it? It's like you've got to just be part of the bigger, wider network.
Absolutely. And we need to, as much as, yes, the onus is on me to bring people through the door, if you're new to the markets, then let's tap into your community. And also your community is going to want to know that they can come and meet you in person and buy from you at an event. And if you don't tell them that, how will they know?
Amen to that.
Are the businesses that you see within the stalls, are they always with physical products or sometimes services? Does it vary?
It does. There's always a mix. There's we've had interior designers, wedding stylists, photographers come because, and this is just an example. So there's a lady who came to the markets, still comes to the markets for years. She's now having children with the chap she married. So she came single, then they came as a couple, then they got married, and they used the suppliers because there's a florist there, she does wedding flowers, we've got illustrators that do wedding stationery, we've got caterers that do weddings. So you could come to a Fab Places market and totally kit out your wedding. And I think that's also the side of it that people don't really realise. We also have a lot of people looking for suppliers. They'll come, we get a lot of businesses come, and they're looking for the next product that they want to bring in. So it's, when you go to a market, it's not just someone buying on the day, and I always try and put so much emphasis on that. It's the people that are kind of looking. You must give the same energy to everybody because you just don't know who they are.
That sounds incredible.
Just never judge.
It's such a good way of thinking about it as well. The fact that it's not just customers that are mingling around, it's business partners that you could very much team up with, and something can come out from it. No, it's incredible. Obviously we've spoken a lot about the markets, but you did touch upon it a little bit about doing other things on the side as well, like business workshops. Just talk to me more about it.
So over the years I have done lifestyle workshops. So this has been styling, table dressing. So it's just my creative outlet because I love interiors. I love having people around the house celebrating, and I think that what a friend of mine, we sat chatting, we're like, well, why don't we do it? She was a stylist. I'm not a proper stylist, but I do all that home styling and entertaining. I said, why don't we just do something around Christmas that encompasses that kind of Nigella feel, where you've totally got it sorted and you can come join us for an evening and we'll go through everything with you. Even just entertaining, food ideas, all of that. And that we called that the School of Christmas, and that went on for 5 years.
I really hope, just
brilliant.
as a little side thing to that Nigella's got a room in a house that's just an absolute shit tip.
Oh, totally. She's not got it all together. Come on.
Do you know what I mean? Like, you open the door and it's just shit everywhere.
Yeah. We've all got that room, and I've got this thing where you give me half an hour. Please don't just come and knock on the door. Because I've got kids, dogs, life. But alongside that, back in 2014, I started the Creative Business Workshops because I'll always remember, and it was so valuable at the time, that I met with the Business Link chap when I first started to think about fabulous places, because there wasn't a creative workshop that you could go to. And he said, "Oh, I don't think you've got anything here." He said in the nicest possible way. And I was like, "Okay, that's fine. I'm not going to listen to you. I don't listen, that's not what I wanted to hear. I'm totally focused." Luckily, I didn't listen to him. But it made me realise that actually throughout those first 5-6 years of running a business, that there wasn't anything out there where a business, even if it had been going for a while, could come and get the basics of product display, how to present yourself online, how to present yourself in person. So we encompassed all of that. So I would collab with a photographer, a marketing person, and then a visual kind of stylist. And that's what the workshop would be. So someone could come and then go with a really good base level of, actually, for the next event, I've got loads of things that I can implement and be inspired. So the workshops, I still do them occasionally, but they went on probably just before lockdown. They finished, and I probably saw maybe about 4,000 people through the workshops.
Wow, that's
incredible. What I love about that as well is that you've gone to one person who shut your idea down. And I think there'll be some people that probably would have taken that very personally and gone, "Oh, okay, no, I'm not gonna." Okay, he said I won't do that. But I think the lesson is that not everybody has to share your vision.
No,
it's one person.
Yeah,
but
they
sometimes
can make a
you get
big
that from
impact.
a family member. Family members can be they can be brilliantly championing. They can be like, "Oh yeah, you're great. It's going to be amazing," which can also be a bit of a trap.
Yes.
They can also be like, "No, don't be stupid. You won't make anything of that." But
I think a balance of those two things is perfect.
If you deep down believe in what you have to offer, you've just got to go for it. Because if you don't, you end up looking back in 5, 10, 15 years time going, "Oh shit.
Yeah.
Why didn't I just give that one thing a go?" You often kind of hear people go, they had that idea.
Yes.
I had that idea years ago. That person now is absolutely smashing it.
Yeah, absolutely. I hear that a lot.
Just you didn't have the action. Like, it's great to have the idea, but you've got to put the action in. You've got to put the work in.
Yeah, I think there's definitely a lot of businesses that probably haven't made it to market because of that. Someone's just given them that kind of punch in the stomach that was just like, okay, I'm dreaming, and then they just can't continue at work. But luckily for me, there's such a wonderful pool of creatives. But I think the markets, because they've grown, and the value that they have now, that we do get people travelling from all over the UK, and also stall holders coming from all different counties, because they know that actually that journey is worthwhile, and they'll be kind of put in this wonderful community with amazing shoppers that come that totally get what they're about. And having an online shop is amazing, and during lockdown even better. I think everybody that was set up to sell online, really, you were doing something wrong if you didn't do well online during lockdown. Especially in my community, it was even you could just sell through Instagram by posting a photo. But once we came out of that, I think everyone then realised that you do need this in-person physical interaction for people to buy. So that's where the importance of the markets have come in. And for me, that was really important, because there was a particular small business, and I won't name her because we've had this chat afterwards. During lockdown, she says, "Oh, I don't think we'll need markets again. This is amazing." I'm like, this is a moment in time. It's everyone's stuck at home. I put the markets online, and the first market that we held, it crashed the server, the amount of people that were coming on it. So I knew that it was amazing. Let's make the most of this moment where people can't be in an enclosed area. But as soon as people were able to be out and about, that's exactly what they wanted to do. So markets, I think the markets will always be there. But as I've seen from when I first started to where they are now, they've evolved and they become a shopping experience. And people expect the same experience as if they were going to a really cool high street. So that's what you have to curate every time you run a market. Otherwise, they just won't come back.
Yeah. So where's Fab Places today, and where do you want it to be over the next few years?
So today, the events are amazing. I'm creating some really lovely partnerships with some new venues to help them create events to bring an audience to them. So there's a bit of consulting and also more events happening this year, which is really lovely. I'm working with the Devonshire group to bring pop-ups to Peak Village. They're trying to regenerate that area, and I'm also at the moment I'm holding just for March it's a non-profit creative space that people can come in and use for photo shoots. I've got a little pop-up shop there as well. That's until the 29th. So I'm going to continue doing what I'm doing because everything's all great at the moment, but I also want to go back to how the business started. So I am working on a digital places guide as well, just because I feel I miss it, and I feel as much as I love the events, I do need to have this little bit, I need to bring the business back to what it was. So whether that will be just digital, or I'll go to a printed booklet that people can kind of order, and it'll be UK wide as well. So
any plans to have a Fab Places in Peterborough?
Depends. Let's look at the venues. People will travel. They will travel everywhere.
Nice one, Sam. Nice
you enjoyed that? You enjoying your funk and soul as well from upstairs?
Yes.
Well, this will really test out whether the voice isolation tool in Final Cut Pro will. So if you can hear it, the voice isolation tool hasn't worked as well as we hope.
If you can hear it, it's quite nice.
Yeah, it's all right. It's a part of the atmosphere, isn't it? Do you want to wrap it up with the final question?
Indeed. So if you met 14-year-old Deb today, what sort of advice would you be giving her?
Gosh, stop trying to be a people pleaser, because you can't please everyone. And don't overthink. That's definitely been a learning process for me, and I still do it. But trying to please everyone and overthinking everything, I'm like, just don't do it. Be you. I'm so proud of Lily, my daughter, who she doesn't get FOMO, and she's got her own style, and she's just... Yeah. There was a party that she couldn't make, and I was like, oh, are you going to miss it? No, it's fine. She just doesn't really... She cares enough, and she doesn't over care about things. Yeah. I'm like, I really wish I was more like you. I just needed to be I needed to be liked by everybody, and everybody to be kind of, what you're doing is great. And I think you do that when you're younger, and you go through a stage.
They're very limiting beliefs, aren't they?
Yeah,
really,
that's it.
They can hold you back, can't they?
The friend group that you have and the way that you spend your social time is so important when you're younger. I'd love to just say, don't sweat that. Don't sweat the small stuff so much. But I think also saying that, I think part of everything that I went through growing up, it does help you become a much wiser and definitely a more thoughtful person when you're older, because you've had those experiences. But yeah, I would have really loved to not try to please everyone as much, because then you end up not pleasing yourself. And I think I'm at the age now where I'm going to please myself. Make sure, as long as I'm not upsetting everyone, I'm going to self-indulge, and that's exactly what I'm doing at the moment.
It's been a really inspiring conversation. I think Merla was right. Total legend. really enjoyed listening to you. I've found your story and your journey of the past sort of 12-13 years really admirable and really inspiring.
It makes me feel so old,
I think I've said inspiring a few times, but genuinely I think I think a lot of people will listen to this and they'll be able to really relate to what you've described and that journey that you've been on. And I genuinely think it will make a lot of people go, I can go and do this. I can make it work. You've just got to have that belief, have that vision, and then just execute it to the best of your ability, haven't you?
Yeah, that's it.
Where can people find you?
Online. I'll say Instagram first, because I always go to someone's Instagram before their website. It's Fabulous Places, and it's fabulousplaces.co.uk, where I put all of the information. So everything that I'm doing, everything that's coming up, it's all on there, and hopefully you can find it quite easily from the navigation. But yeah, I'm very active on Instagram. So if you want to find out when the next market is, that's the place to head to.
Yeah, and you've got some coming up very soon, haven't you?
Yes, so at the moment I'm running the pop-up creative space at Peak Village. That's until the 29th of March, which any small business can tap into.
And that looks amazing, by the way.
I'm enjoying that.
Really amazing. I looked at it and was like, whoa, the minimalism and just the space in itself is just beautiful.
Yeah, so I literally raided home. So everything that you see is pretty much from home, and I borrowed from a lot of other small businesses. So it was put together on a shoestring, but it's a non-profit thing, and it's a really lovely office for me as well for March. So that's at the moment. And then the 1st of April is the spring market at Shuttle Hall.
Amazing stuff. Sounds like you've got a big year ahead. Really busy.
Busy, yes.
Lots to crack on with.
Yeah, lots of things to kind of focus forward on, and I'm a big believer in you need things to keep focusing forward on. So yeah.
Thank you so much for just coming out and just giving us your time and just sharing your story and your thoughts and your journey. If you've enjoyed listening to this, give Fabulous Places a shout out on Insta.
Indeed.
And get yourself along to one of the events, because they're absolutely incredible. And Igor will be moving to Derby very soon. I'm working on it, people. I'm working on it. I'm going to go and destroy the final bit of my pan au chocolat that you bought me. And we'll go and put the heater on because it's getting a bit chilly.
Are you feeling that? Yeah.
Thank you, guys.
See you, fam.